can all join palms and repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
Keeping the palms joined. Put the palms down. All right, good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all. Thank you for showing up. Anyone here for the first time tonight? Those who are here for the first time, what brings you here? Trying it out? Have you tried it out before?
I tried in the morning. I don't know how successful.
Like the morning today?
Yeah.
Did it work?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I'm here for the first time also. My name is Ben.
Hi, Ben.
And I'm here because I was very interested when I first read about like Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Path,
Yeah.
and the path of Buddhism. Very
Nice.
interesting.
What intrigued you about it?
Mostly the way it talks about like suffering
Mm.
and how to overcome it.
Yeah. How's it working for you so far? Did you overcome it yet?
No.
No? It just doesn't work then, you know? Yeah. Hi.
My friend invited me.
What'd they say?
They said, I'm actually in town for a funeral.
Oh.
They said this might be a nice space to be in.
Yeah. Sorry about your reason for being here. Or here meaning San Diego here. Yeah. But glad you're here. Anyone else for the first time want to share why they're here? I know after the first few, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. It's my first time in a few years.
Yeah.
I'm Kelly. I've been to a lot of refuge meetings here.
Nice.
Just active in the recovery community, and I brought Ben because this is a sick temple.
Nice. It is kind of a sick temple, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. We started 19 years ago. That was our goal, was to be a sick temple, you know? I think we kind of accomplished that, you know? Yeah. I mean, God, I don't know what I want to start in this direction, but it's wild, like, just having a Buddhist temple like this. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just bizarre. It's just wild. You know, really be careful with, like, your intentions really, see my head right now. I'm trying to actually spin this into some good thing instead of just going on some rant, which I want to go on, but maybe the rant would be better. I'm not sure. Be careful with intentions, because intentions, you know, for me, Buddhist practice is at its core is about intention. And it's understanding what is behind our intentions, right? We talk about think good thoughts, speak good words, do good deeds. It's being our karma, what we bring into the world, not what we get, right? What we think, what we say, and what we do becomes our reality. And then I always talk about, especially around, you know, people's questions, well, is it the wisest thing? Is it the most compassionate thing? And I'm always driving it back to, because for me, that's what I was taught, is what is your intention behind the action, right? We don't, as unenlightened beings, we don't know what ultimate wisdom is, right? We don't know what the wisest thing to do is, right? I mean, if we knew what the wisest thing to do was, always, none of us would be sitting here right now, because we would have done really wise things our whole lives and not be suffering at all, right? But the reality is, many, if not all of us, are fully aware of the suffering, discomfort, angst, dissatisfaction we go through in our lives. And so it always comes back to intention. And, you know, for me, regardless of where you're at in your life or what you're doing in your life, or, you know, how you spend your days, look at what your intention is behind everything. That is so important. And, in every little thing, in big decisions and in, little everyday simple decisions, turn left, turn right. Every little thing we do, try to explore the intention behind it. And for me as a practice, I'm always asking myself, is the intention behind this action filled with an attachment to self, greed, anger, ignorance, craving, desire, ego? Is that the intention? Or is the intention about others, loving kindness, compassion, generosity? What is the intention? And I think if we begin to really ponder throughout our day more often what our intentions are, then it almost becomes just a lot of the things we do, kind of habitual patterns, behaviors, when the intention behind it, and when I say pure, I don't mean that, I have some pure mind. I definitely do not, right? But the intention has a beautiful intention, has a good intention, and then we create more of those actions. So always look at your intention. And I find that to be something that is often overlooked, especially for those who might be newer to Buddhism, because we think, well, I'm suffering, I want to get out of suffering. Well, we're very quick to want to get out of suffering and to fix our suffering without necessarily looking at what our intentions were behind our actions that led to suffering to begin with. So, always try to explore intentions and see how that impacts the decisions you make throughout your life. So we'll start with the meditation practice. To those joining virtually, welcome. Glad you're here. Thank you for showing up. Feel free to say hello. There's a chat box on your screen somewhere. A couple things to tell you for those who might be sitting for the first time in meditation or here for the first time in meditation. Nothing's going to happen to you. You're not going to float away. You're not going to have any mystical, magical experiences. The mind that races all day long is not going to shut off. Don't judge your practice, meaning don't ask yourself, is this working or not working? Are you doing it right or wrong? We're just going to sit. We're going to breathe. You'll hear sounds inside the room, sounds outside. This is life. Life is filled with chaos. And this practice is learning to get quiet and still within all of the chaos. Posture, you just want to be comfortable. If you're on a cushion, often it helps sliding to the front third, pushing the stomach forward, allows the back to straighten. If you're on a bench or chair, also just trying to sit up straight, relaxing the shoulders, hands are on the knees or lap. And especially for those who are maybe new to meditation, you're not trying to go blank. You're not trying to think nothing. You're not trying to shut your mind off. Your mind will continue to race. I would say things periodically to either wake you up or bring you back to present moment using sensation of breath. Most important, do not expect anything. I'll guide us as we begin, and we'll settle into a little bit of silence. And starting with the eyes closed if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth is open or closed. We'll start with taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And eventually, settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. Noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. We'll start with gently guiding the attention focus to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. Breathing out, they fall. Simply continue this practice, observing sensation of breath, expecting nothing but to sit and breathe. And as the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it, release that thought, return attention, focus to the breath. Where's your mind? Lost in thought. Return to breath. letting go of expectations, letting go of judgments from your practice, just sitting, breathing. Learning to be comfortable in stillness, in quiet, wanting nothing but to sit and breathe. And with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle, know what it's like to just sit and breathe. Knowing with each breath, there's nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, and no one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. And once again, taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And as you slowly open the eyes, slowly beginning to move. And most important, with the practice of meditation, is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after. Compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. And ask yourselves how you'd prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize however you feel now, if it's quiet, calm, and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, has nothing to do with anything I said. It's nothing to do with how you sit and hold the hands or cross the legs. It's nothing to do with the sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It has everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, means dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being, no different than any one of us, who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. And what that means, very simply, for all of us, regardless of where you come from or what you believe in or where you think you're going, your whole life is filled with things that happen. You react. More stuff happens. More reactions. That's it. This practice is simply learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. Because for most of us, the way you responded to the last 20 minutes is quite different from how you respond to every other 20-minute period of your day. And so all we're working on is closing the gap to where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always. Just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives. But with a mind that's steady, clear, focused, distracted by nothing, and disturbed by no one. It's not an easy practice. It's not necessarily fun. It's not an escape, as often people think it is. If your life is a crazy, hectic, stressed out mess, meditation isn't going to fix that. It helps you become aware of your life that's a crazy, hectic, stressed out mess so you can make changes in your life. Ultimately, meditation is direct perception into the present moment. And the present moment is filled with conflict, chaos, difficulties, challenges. This is life. This is what we get. This is learning to be with life as it arises. And that is incredibly difficult at times. Most days, that's incredibly difficult. But so many of us spend much of our lives running, looking for something to fix us, change us, heal us. And this practice is learning to sit with yourself. All the joy, all the sadness, all the happiness, all the pain. This is life. Buddhist practice doesn't solve things, doesn't have all the answers. To me, this practice is simply a mirror that we hold up to reflect back on, as I said earlier, our thoughts, our words, and our actions, and how our thoughts and our words and our actions impact our lives and the lives of those around us. Meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. It's just sitting, breathing, and learning to be kind to yourself and everybody you encounter. So with that, I'll pause. For me, I really always prefer to respond to questions, meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with. And we'll use the rest of our brief time for questions. For those who are joining virtually, again, welcome. Glad you're here. Feel free to say hello. If you have any questions, you can put them on the chat box. I'll do my best to respond. So we'll open up to questions. Yeah.
So last Tuesday, towards the end of the session, there was a discussion around, so Westerners who tend to view Buddhism as a philosophy, Asian sees it religiously, and of course things are rarely that black and white, right? There's a whole lot of gray. I love gray. Digging into the gray.
Yeah.
And, at one point you asked, as you often do, how many Buddhists are in the room? Right?
Yeah.
About 1.5.
Yeah.
So that is the context. So we have rituals here, right? And you always refer to this, sometimes quite vehemently, as a sacred place. How do you meld all of those together?
I'm going to add on a little bit, if you don't mind, and then I'll respond. When you say, how do you meld all of those together? I guess the two questions I have are, when you say meld all those together, you're just talking about everything you just said. And then the second part is like, why meld it together? And I mean that very seriously. Like, I'm trying to understand the intention. What is there to meld together? That's what I'm getting at. And then I can kind of respond. So if you can maybe ramble on that for a minute,
So,
please.
very different philosophies, right, in how you approach. So when you started today, that to me was very practical guidance. Why are we here? What are we looking to get out of it?
Yeah.
How can we work towards achieving those ends? Very practical.
Okay.
But then there's also so to expand on the religion part I particularly like is there's no gods or goddesses. These are Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, since they're are not gods, sons of gods, or prophets.
Right.
That's what I call them.
Yeah.
And yet there's all of those aspects of religion that kind of lay on top of everything.
Yes.
And so to me, like I said, it's just great. And things
Yeah.
of interest in how we can meld all of those thoughts together into, because just sitting and meditating, I love it, it's great, but I don't think I get movement into becoming more generous, compassionate,
Right.
joy, equanimity. It's
Right.
I think that takes some of the other philosophy of religion.
Absolutely.
That happen.
Yeah. Okay. So
That was loaded.
no, it's really not. It's I mean, in essence, I think, and I'll ramble a little bit on this, but I don't. To me, there is no melding of anything together, and let me kind of then unpack that a little bit. First and foremost, just to back up to what was said last week, and your paraphrase was pretty close, but I've said that 1,000 times, so I just want to clarify a little bit that what I talked about in context, to put it in context for those who weren't here, maybe haven't heard this before, is that in brief, in the West, Western cultures, Western countries predominantly practice Buddhism as a philosophy and a way of life. Right? The way you said it was that Asians view it as a religion. I just want to kind of open that up a little bit and say, I would never say Asians view it as a religion. What I say is that if you go to Taiwanese, Japanese, Vietnamese, Thailand, Lao, Cambodian temples, it's practiced religiously, but it's not so much as a blanket statement that says Asians view Buddhism as a religion. So I just wanted to clarify that. And the reason I always bring that up, again, for those who are new, is that, again, how many of you came here tonight? A little change in the question I always ask, because yes, I do always ask, how many of you are Buddhist? And you get like one hand, and the other person who's like not really sure, right? So that's where you get the 1.5. But to add on, to twist that question even further, to kind of drive this home, how many of you came here tonight for religion? You got one. Numbers stay consistent, right? So what you're really asking about is, for me, the entire purpose of why we built the Dharma Bum Temple was not to share a religion, not to practice a religion, but to look at the Buddhist teachings, which to me are a philosophy and a way of life. And to expound on it a little bit without making it too personal, I come from a very traditional Taiwanese, Pure Land, Buddhist religious practice that to me, I'm very devout. What I share, what I lead, does not come from a Pure Land or Chan, which is Zen practice, right? So in sharing these kind of views, again, I'm kind of still summarizing for those who are new maybe to this line of thinking, is I want people to really understand that this practice, for the most part in the West, is viewed as a philosophy and way of life. But to go into Buddhist temples and tell them it's not a religion, to many would be like going into the Catholic Church on the corner and saying, hey, this isn't a religion, right? It's been practiced religiously for 2,500 years, even though in Western countries, we don't typically view it religiously. So that's kind of, I just wanted to set that up. To your question and to your point, which I may or may not even be addressing at all, I'm not sure, and we can spend years exploring it, is I don't see any purpose to meld them all together. I mean, using what I heard from your words, which is great, the meditation to you doesn't seem to make you a more compassionate or whatever words you used. And you're right. To me, meditation is not sitting there to become more compassionate, right? To me, as I always share Kamalekshi Soma, she would say an angry person who meditates is just an angry meditator, right? So all the meditation in the world doesn't necessarily get rid of anger. As the Buddha taught, we overcome anger with compassion. So in our day-to-day lives, we cultivate compassion. We practice compassion. We do compassionate things to help us reflect on the difference and the beauty of compassion compared to maybe anger. When we sit, one hand could say, you could say, well, I'm not sitting to cultivate compassion. The other way to look at it is, any of you in this room ever been really angry? And when you're really angry, ever done anything really smart from that place? Not so much. So I just want to point out that yes, sitting is not about cultivating compassion, but I can tell you from personal experience early on with this practice where anger was still there. If I was angry, you know what the best thing for me to do was? Sit. Because if I'm angry and I'm sitting, it might not be getting rid of my anger, but you know what I'm not doing when I'm angry and sitting? Acting on that anger. So again, I'm highlighting, yes, the importance of sitting, not to cultivate compassion, but also to not add more anger. I still kind of don't see, many people come to the Dharma Bum Temple. We literally built it to remove the bowing from my personal practice at a Taiwanese Buddhist temple and a Taiwanese monastery for 11 months. The bowing, the chanting, the robes, the ritual, heavy ritual, right? If you all walked in here and I told you to put on a robe and bow 3 times before you sat down, how many people you think are showing up? Not this Western audience. I spent 3.5 years in that world. Most people don't do that. There's a couple of you, and you'll trickle your way into, these, what I call cultural temples, and you'll love it and enjoy it. I love it and enjoy it. I'd much rather be bowing and chanting and reciting the Buddha's name than yapping about all our problems in the world, right? But I don't try to mesh them. But last thing I'll say, but we built the Dharma Bum Temple to remove that piece of it, because that's not what most Western people are looking for, is the bowing and the chanting and the robes and the ritual. They're looking for how to suffer less, right? I mean, what's your name? Ben? You want to suffer less?
For sure.
Would you like to be kinder and gentler to yourself and others? Yes. Do you want to shave your head and put on a robe and bow and chant the Buddha's name for the next 15 hours? No. Case in point. He said, not really. So there's a possibility. Dumb and Dumber, you're saying I got a chance. I found my first convert right here. Go ahead. Sorry.
And yet, we do have the shrine.
Yes.
We do have the focus. We do have this sacred place.
Yes.
So to me, that's the melody.
Yeah. So somebody asked years ago, a dear friend of ours who's been a monk for 25 years, who he is kind of irrelevant, but somebody asked him one time in the Zen practice, right? Very often you go to a Zen center and they don't have a Buddha on their shrine. They have a rock. And somebody said to him, what's with these Zen places that just have a rock? Do you need a rock or do you need a Buddha statue? And he said, if you can look at the rock and understand that there truly is no difference between the rock and the Buddha statue, then get a rock. But until you understand there is no difference between the rock and the Buddha statue, we need the Buddha statue as guides, as reminders, as representations of the practice. So I found that to be a very beautiful example. And for me, this is just stuff, but it helps. It helps. Temples are created to be sacred spaces, but sacred doesn't have to be religious. Sacred doesn't have to be spiritual. To me, sacred means you just take care of it. Like wherever you reside, your room should be a sacred space. If you have a kitchen, your kitchen should be a sacred space. If you have a means of transportation, your car, your bicycle, whatever it might be, that should be a sacred space. Everything should be a sacred space. So to me, temples are built to actually model and represent. Look at how kindly and gently everybody comes in and leaves this space for the most part. If this was a movie theater, do you think these people would act this way? No, but the simple fact that you set up the facade of a Buddhist temple to trick people into being nice is wonderful. It's all just a big game to get you to be nice. And it's almost working. What else? Yeah, but like I said, truly, Starla, what you're asking about for me is the last 22 years of my life exploring that. And so I'm just summarizing like 4 minutes of it. But this is all I study and look at. Yeah.
Real quick, I'd like to address that. For years, people ask me, were you a Buddhist? I say, well, I have a small Buddhist practice because I do Buddhist meditations like come here. I read some sutras.
Yeah.
Sometimes, then I also go to kirtan and things like that.
Yeah.
But 6 weeks ago, I went to this a lot of the Buddhist temple for a 3-day retreat, absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And there I had another life-changing experience where I took vows. So now when you ask me, when you ask the crowd, when you ask the class, who's a Buddha, I didn't shoot my hand fast enough. That's not used to.
Yeah.
I'm finally a Buddhist, and what that meant to me, I took those vows as sincerely as I could, and I lived them. Because whether it's a religion or philosophy, it doesn't matter, but it is definitely a way of life.
Yeah.
5 simple vows: don't kill, don't steal, don't gossip, no sexual misconduct, and no intoxicants.
Yeah.
And each one of those is mind-boggling. I mean, been coming here to the temple for years, but mostly downstairs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So just any one of those. So that's what made a difference for me.
Beautiful.
So now I have
Thank you.
a guru, a lineage, and
Yeah.
a name and all that, and that's made a difference for me.
Nice.
A
Yeah.
lot of years. So.
Careful the gurus, the names. Don't let that go to your head.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
It's
I'm just
cool.
giving you a hard time.
Oh, yeah.
What else? Questions?
Question is might be kind of rudimentary, but the way I have understood mindfulness and meditation is when it comes to your emotions, is an emotion comes out, but it doesn't like define you. That emotion isn't you. You can let it go. You can come back to the moment. It's something like I'm just curious your take on this. Like I've been grappling with. It feels in tension with the like self-help, well-being sentiment that you need to just sit in your feelings and feel how you feel. And when an emotion comes up, you just like sit with it. And like in conversations with friends and different people going through different things like that comes up again, where it's like you need to really just feel what you feel. And I'm a compartmentalizer for sure, so I don't want to feed into that, but I love the idea that emotions don't define you and that you don't need to always listen to them. And I guess it feels contradictory to have that be the Buddhist ethos and the mindfulness sentiment, but then also have this like you need to feel how you feel thing, and I don't.
No, it's a great question. And I think there's a balance around, and you've heard me say this before, and I'll say this, and I mean this very seriously. So there is, therapy, self-help, psychology, psychiatrists, all that kind of stuff. Again, that's not the nature of your question, but just in general. And all of that stuff is important. And then there's also Buddhist practice, also important, but different, right? There is therapy, self-help type of stuff. And then there's Buddhist teachings which say there is no self, so who are you even helping, right? So they're very different, but also very complementary, right? So I do not suggest dropping, if you're in therapy, you're working on self-help, you're on meds, you don't drop all that just because you go to like 1 or 2 Buddhist things, right? Stay on your therapy, stay on your meds, and supplement it with the Buddhist practice. But to your question very directly is that I think for me, really, it's the Buddhist teachings on the middle path and finding a balance that, yes. So for me, who grew up, when I say grew up in this journey with Buddhism, dealing with tremendous anger and depression, it was one thing to say that I understood the anger and depression was not me. It didn't define me. It was just this thought that arises and passes and this airplane that flies overhead and moves on. When I first started hearing that, I just wanted to punch the people who were telling me that, right? Because that airplane that was supposed to just fly over your head and fade away, like landed, and it was on my head. And I didn't want to sit with it because it doesn't feel good with the emotions at all. So I think there's a balance, and there's no, I don't think, like direct answer, obviously, to your question, but I think there's times where it is important to sit with the emotions, whatever they are, whatever the emotion is, to sit with it, to be with it, to see how it makes you feel. But when you just can't sit with it anymore, there's nothing wrong with getting up and like going to watch cartoons or, eating cereal or whatever it is you need to do to keep yourself like, okay. This idea that we're just supposed to sit with stuff. If we're miserable and depressed and angry, that's not fun to sit with. And if we're not like stable and strong and capable of sitting with that, it potentially can get worse. So yes, reflect on the fact that it is impermanent. It will fade. It will go away. It will change. And And don't be afraid to like run from it for a while until you feel like you can sit with it. And then when you can't sit with it anymore, run from it. And then, as long as you know what you do, that when you run, whatever you run towards or wherever you run, that emotion is still there. We're just kind of masking it and covering it and escaping from it for a short period of time. Ultimately, it's going to come back to us. If I'm angry and depressed and I run and escape to something, that anger and depression that's there didn't just like magically disappear. I just kind of covered it up for a little bit and avoided it for a little bit. So I got to come back and sit with it and learn to sit with it until I can see it and say, okay, boom, I can sit with this emotion for 15 years and it does not change me. It doesn't define me. It doesn't make me do stupid things. I can just see it. So I don't know if that's helpful, but yeah. Yeah.
This is a more religious one. I've heard of Nichiren Buddhism.
Oh, yeah.
And part of like the whole definition of karma and that your past life karma.
Yeah.
Like how do you kind of deal with grief through that lens? Like I'm having a hard time wrestling with like trying to balance like what did I do to deserve this feeling?
Oh, yeah.
How do you balance that karmic beliefs with that?
Yeah, great question coming from the one religious Buddhist in the room. And I just want to point out, since you mentioned it, Nichiren Buddhism, it's one of, if not the largest school of Buddhism. It's based on the Lotus Sutra. Nichiren, the founder, the reciting the Namiho Renge Kyo, it is very much rooted in this deep religious view. The Buddha taught, to answer your question about dealing with grief, right? And the thing that really caught my attention is how you said karma and having a hard time understanding or feeling like you deserve what's happening.
It kind of makes me angry. I don't feel like I'm a bad enough person to deserve this feeling.
Yeah. So karma is not about deserving. There's a lot, and I just kind of want to touch on a few things you said. First and foremost, the Buddha taught very clearly, do not believe him just because he says things. Practice them, put them into life. See if they work for you. If they work, great. If not, abandon them. There's an expression in Buddhism that says there's 84,000 paths, ways to awaken, meaning to suffer less, right? Now, Nichiren Buddhism says there's one path. I just want to plant that seed, right? So keep in mind that there are potentially 83,999 other paths. Now, the thing about karma has nothing to do with what you deserve. Karma is not what you get. Karma literally means action. And when you ask the question the way you asked it, it made me think, and I could be wrong, I'm wrong a lot, but it made me think that you think karma is about what you get. And it's...
I guess it's not like the way I grew up understanding it, but the way I was explaining more is more like what you give out into the world, what you end up receiving back.
Yeah, and that's why I'm telling you is technical ultimate Buddhist teachings, that's not correct. Karma literally means action. The word karma translates to action. And what the Buddha taught, not what Nichiren taught, what the Buddha taught is that we generate karma 3 ways: body, speech, and mind. What we think, what we say, and what we do. So you ever played pool? Oh, yeah, that's great. It works, right? You don't have to be good at it, right? But when you hit the cue ball, the white ball into the rack, every time you hit the cue ball into the rack, every ball goes into a different direction, right? You could hit the ball 1,000 times and they're all going to go in a different direction every single time. That is us. We are the cue ball. Every person, place, and thing we interact with, we leave a mark. So every thought, every word, and every action leaves an imprint. Karma is not what we get. Karma is not what comes back to us. Karma is what we give. The mistake that most Western people make around karma is thinking that if we do good, good is going to come back. If we do bad, bad is going to come back. Anyone here ever done something really bad and had good stuff happen? Right? Or you've done something really good and had bad stuff happen. This is life. So that right there shows us that just because we give good or do good doesn't mean we get. Right? Now, another teaching says all karmic seeds bear fruit, meaning there will be the law of cause and effect from everything we do. But I highly suggest you remove and I don't speak too strongly about things unless they come from, to me, views of Buddhism that really are narrow, because Buddhist teachings are not narrow, they're very broad. But I really suggest to try to remove this idea that karma has anything to do with what you deserve. It is not what you deserve. It is simply the law of cause and effect. If I walk across the street and, somebody riding their bike crashes into me because they weren't looking, we're going to say, whose fault is it? They're not looking, they crash into me. Whose fault is it? What's that? They're not paying attention. But karma is not about fault. Karma is not about blame. Karma is not about right and wrong. Karma is action. So karmically, I'm equally at fault, at blame for that interaction occurring, because if I hadn't walked across the street, I wouldn't have been hit by the biker. That's karma. I didn't deserve it. Nothing to do with deserving. Simple law of cause and effect. Yeah. Bad things happen to us, and good things happen to us. This has nothing to do with, nothing in Buddhist teachings is that about what we deserve or don't deserve. It's not about deserving or not deserving. Things happen. Yeah, thank you. What else? Yeah.
In terms of like personal goals,
How
do you balance, one, the desire to be here and happy to be here,
Mm-hmm.
and also, gosh, it'd be really nice to be over there.
Yeah. Do you want to be over here?
No.
I thought you just said you wanted to be over here.
Well, in terms of like I'm a musician.
Yeah.
So there are very hard and fast walls of stuff I cannot play. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'd like to.
I'd like to, but I find that my inability to do things that I would like to sometimes dampers my ability to enjoy where I'm at.
So you're actually answering your question.
I hope it's recorded off.
You can listen back to what you just said, and what you're saying is that at the end, what you're saying is that your desire to want to be able to do something is actually dampening your ability to enjoy what you can do. Are there things in your life that you can do well that at some point in time you wish you could have done well and now you can do them well? The question, so I want to come back to the I think the way you started the question, which is really important, and it comes up a lot around Buddhism, which is goals. Buddhist practice often gets kind of lost in this idea that, we're just going to, be nuns or monks and sit under trees and, watch the clouds float by. I mean, the Buddha worked his ass off. The dude was a rebel. I consider him a rebel. I consider him an activist. For 45 years, he walked around teaching people to be loving and kind and compassionate. That was a lot of work. He worked hard. He helped millions and millions of people. He didn't just sit there like, I'm a monk, And so I think when people ask questions about goals, it's important for all people. I was going to say lay people, but monks and nuns, same thing. Work hard. I mean, one of the Buddhist teachings is to be diligent, to work hard. But do you work as hard at cultivating some sort of spiritual path as you do at other things that maybe don't mean so much? Do you appreciate, back to your question, what you are able to do at this point in time? So there's nothing wrong with having goals. As the Buddha taught, craving and desire leads to suffering. But there are healthy cravings and healthy desires. If we didn't all have a craving and desire to suffer less, none of us would be sitting here right now. So again, back to my kind of what I opened with tonight, which was intention. Have your goals, but don't attach to them. Because you're not going to, I hate to break it to you in case you haven't figured this out by now, you're not going to accomplish every goal in life. There are also things in life you're probably going to accomplish that aren't even on your radar yet, that might even be better than this little goal you have over here. So life doesn't work out how we want it to. Thank God, right? Yeah, and again, it just depends on our perspective. But life works out, however it works out, until it's done. So work hard, be kind. To me, Buddhist teachings are really simple, and help people and animals, and all sentient beings. Yeah.
Can you elaborate on attachment to goals and attachments in general, and how
Yeah.
we can perhaps get better perspective and reduce our attachments?
Yeah, so the question is around, for those who didn't hear, just kind of expanding on this idea of attachment. In Buddhism, it's called, which you've heard me say many times, the teaching is called non-attachment. It's not detached, it's not unattached, it's not severing, it's not cutting off, it's non-attachment. Non-attachment ultimately is love, right? It is loving. Anyone ever been in a relationship, friendship or romantic relationship or family relationship, and treated them really well and expected something in return for that? Thank you for the two honest people in the room, So we often want something back. We have an expectation of getting something back from what we give. Non-attachment, meaning love, is actually giving heart, attention, smile, hug, whatever we pour into something, right? Use the example of music. So if you want to learn to be a better musician or play whatever, work hard at it. Maybe you'll be better, maybe you'll suck. You don't know. But don't attach to the outcome, because if you're attached to the outcome, then you're missing the process, right? Just work hard at kind of, this very Western, it's the journey, not the destination kind of thing. I'm not a huge fan of that, but it does make kind of sense in this example. Don't expect things on kind of the, as an end game. The Bodhisattva practice, the practice of enlightened beings, is to give without any notion of a gift, a giver or receiver. You ever bought a gift for somebody and they're really happy with the gift you gave them? How's it make you feel? Probably good. You ever bought a gift for somebody and they're like, this is a terrible gift, right? How does that make you feel? Not so good. But the process of buying and giving the gift, that's it. Purchase, give the gift. Whatever they do with it, that's them. So ultimately, your question is, how do I practice this? How do I learn this? A couple things for you, Owen. How many shirts do you have? Too many. Yes, it's back to the shirt example. Did you get rid of your shirts yet? Too many shirts. So let's just call it 50. Even though, is it more than 50? Close to? Okay, let's just call it 50. You got 50 shirts, right? I'm going to be nice to you, right? I'm feeling kind tonight. Could you give away 20 shirts to people who don't have shirts, to a shelter, to a homeless facility right now, to people living on the streets? Could you give away 20 shirts and still survive with just 30 shirts?
I would hesitate because I might need to use them at some point.
Understood. Fair enough. Good answer. You would hesitate? Hang on. No, this is very serious. I mean, you're actually the first person in 18 years who honestly answered that question that way. So I give you credit for that. You hesitate because you might be able to use them at some point in time. Truth. Fair enough. How about 10? Could you keep 40?
You can be down to 7.
Okay. This is like the old, name that tune, right? So we'll go down to 7. So your question ultimately, and here's the thing, and I mean this very seriously, we talk about non-attachment. People want to know, how do I deal with losing loved ones? How do I deal with animals? How do I deal with myself getting, aging and things going? How do I deal with real heavy, traumatic, life-threatening things? We can't even deal with getting rid of shirts. Your question is, how do I learn how to do it? That's what I heard in your question. Not what is non-attachment. You've heard me talk about non-attachment 1,000 times. Question is how. We must practice with things that are simpler. So your challenge, your practice, Owen, is to take 7 shirts and give them away and see what that feels like. It's going to be difficult. I can see it on your face. And fair enough. But give away 7 shirts and see what that feels like. you want to learn how to be good better at non-attachment, then practice giving things you're attached to. That's it. I mean, it sounds really as like a crazy example, but like, I hope we're almost done because, we're done. All right. This will sound really silly, but I just want to close with this thought and this extreme, because I'm not talking about anything that I haven't personally gone through myself, right? From the guy who spent so much money on clothes and cars and living houses and all that kind of stuff, right? The last thing when I came back to the monastery, I was like, I got to have my convertible. So attached to my new Mustangs, right? That was it. Like, I come back from the monastery, I'm kind of living monk life, but I still want my nice car, And I used to be the guy, and I'm sure no one in the room is this way, and I'll close with this thought, that I would go to car wash detail. It was done. There'd be like one little spot on my shiny car, and I'd be so pissed off. Like me with all my privilege, sitting there angry at the person struggling to pay their bills and support their family at the car wash. And I'm pissed off on my privilege after spending $180 for them to detail my car, that there's a little streak on it of water, right? So what I started doing, I'm not even kidding, right? I'm not suggesting you do this. I'm just telling you to the extreme that I began to practice non-attachment. I was so attached to my car because I thought it was me. It was my ego. So when I got a new car, I took a key. I scratched it myself. Because that helped me get over my attachment. Because that first scratch that went on the car, so angry. 3 years later, you got a car and there's a million scratches on it. It doesn't really matter anymore. You want to practice non-attachment? Do things that require you to not be attached. That's the only way. You want to practice patience? Do things that require you to be patient. It's not another book. It's not another Pema Chodron Dalai Lama Thich Nhat Hanh book. It's not another meditation class. Again, it's not another meditation. It's not another Dharma talk. It's not another sutra. Practice things that require you to deal with non-attachment or whatever it is you're dealing with. To me, that's practice. So I'm going to close on that. We'll join palms. Many merit gained from this practice be transferred to all beings in all directions. May this merit be transferred to Adam Rosenberg during his time of rebirth, and to his family and friends who suffer at this time. May they all be at peace and free from suffering. May we all be at peace and free from suffering. All right, before y'all head out, our Dharma Bum host Hazel has a few announcements for us.
Hello. We opened the Dharma Bum Temple 18 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, monks, gurus, masters, or teachers, and are not looking for students. They're simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice. Every night we have different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sauna that meets several times a week for anyone with addiction, and our food redistribution program is every Thursday at 4:30. We have classes and programs every day, and everything we offer here is always free. The full schedule is on our website and also posted in the entryway above the shoe rack. We have a lending library. If you see a book you like, feel free to borrow it and then bring it back whenever you're done with it. Please straighten your seat or cushion before you head out. If a few people could stay to close and watch the windows, that would be helpful. Thank you for being here. We wish you well and hope to see you all again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hazel.